Let's talk supply chain.
So welcome to the show, Alex and Katie. How are you today?
Doing really well. How are you?
Great. Good. So tell everybody who you are and what you do. Alex, we'll start with you first.
Sure. I'm Alex Jobin. I am a lead solution principal at RELEX. My job is basically to demonstrate our software and answer any questions that anyone has about it.
Cool. You're the guy.
I'm the guy.
All right. Katie, what about you?
I'm the Vice President of Professional Services for the Americas. I lead all of our implementations, make sure that we have the happiest customers in the industry.
Happiest customers in the industry. That should be your new tagline. Is it your tagline?
I think it's part of it.
I love that. So Katie, you are a winner of the Woman in Supply Chain Award for 2023. I mean, congratulations.
Thank you.
We were honored to be the sponsor for that award. So super excited to have you here on the couch or on the chair, right? What does an honor like that actually mean to you and for your career?
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge recognition. I've been in supply chain for 12 years now. And I just think it's amazing that we have these awards for women in supply chain. For me, it's just, I really think of it, they said don't be humble when I was doing the thing, but I work with
self-advocacy,
which is not like a natural thing for most people. But
yep.
I work with such an amazing team, and I've had so many great mentors, and I love the industry. I love the people that I get to meet, the customers we work with, and the amazing products we come into our orbit. So it was a huge honor, and it was honestly such a great event.
Right?
Yeah.
And it was so good. I shared a video with all the award winners standing up and they were like waving at the camera. Everybody's so excited. I love to see that. And for us to come together and talk about it. I mean, I know you weren't there.
I wasn't there, but
and
that's
I'm
okay.
sorry. But next time, you're going to have to be there.
Katie absolutely deserves every award that comes her way.
So how did you originally get into supply chain? Let's talk a little bit about that journey.
Not by choice. It was not my major or anything.
Well, maybe today.
Yeah, maybe today. And now it is. I mean, today it's such a huge field and there's so much interest and the world knows what supply chain is now. But when I graduated college, I thought I was going to go into finance and be a banker and work in hedge funds. And then that dream quickly dissipated immediately graduating. But I went to school in Minnesota and my friend worked for a really large logistics company, told me about the culture and what she was doing. It sounded so fun and problem solving, so I immediately switched over to that, really fell in love with implementing and working with data and leveraging that to build supply chain solutions. So yeah, I fell into it by chance, but once you get into supply chain, it's just this multifaceted problem that's always evolving and keeps you on your toes, and it's hard to leave such a fascinating industry.
It kind of grabs you.
Yeah.
And you can't leave. Did you find that as
Very
well?
much so, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It just takes you and can't leave.
I know. It happened to me. I mean, I've been in the industry almost 25 years, I think, and I'm not going anywhere. I love it. I love the people. I love what we do. I love the problem solving, the technology, and it's such an exciting time to be in the industry.
Yes.
Right? There's so many new things, so many things happening. And so for anybody listening, if you're thinking about getting into supply chain, you've got 3 people right here
Do it.
who are saying do it. Absolutely do it. Now, what's it like being a woman in the industry, and have you really had that seat at the table? Was it a struggle to do that? Was it easy? What did that look like?
It wasn't easy, and I began right when I graduated from college. So often I wasn't at the table, and I was often the only woman or the youngest only woman in the room, which
that
just
makes a
feels
difference, too.
It's hard when you don't have a role model to look to say like, wow, look at that person really advocating for themselves and talking for themselves when you're the only one in the room. I'd say the industry has gotten so much better. I mean, it continues to grow, and we're leveraging technology, and women are so interested in getting into STEM. I've had great role models as my career has progressed. I've had great mentors. I've had different experience. I worked in different ends of the supply chain, so logistics was a bit more male-dominated, even in the customer settings. At RELEX, with working in more retail and more technology, a lot of women. I'll give you like a quick anecdotal story of when I interviewed with RELEX. So I traditionally always been the only woman and the youngest woman in the room.
Okay.
And almost all of my career. And then I came to RELEX and my interviews were predominantly with women. And I was like, wow, this is really refreshing. This feels different. I joined the company and my first aha moment was week 1, we had a call with the customer, super tier 1, top 10 retailer in the world customer. And it was myself and 3 women, and we were talking about data, technology. We were recommending how they would solve these supply chain solutions. And I left the meeting and I was like, that felt so great that I was surrounded by 3 super intelligent, driven, strategic women. Like, this is the right company for me, and this is a good spot in the supply chain industry.
I just got goosebumps.
Yeah.
I mean, how powerful is that?
Yes.
And like, I'm so glad you said that story, because for anybody listening, again, who's just starting their career, thinking about where do I go from here? What does that look like? You know, just to think about what is possible, and it is possible because you lived it. I mean, that's amazing. I appreciate you for sharing that. Now, what kind of impact are you making in supply chain at RELEX? I mean, you just shared an incredible story, but I'm sure you have some more. So let's hear them.
So I joined when I'm employee number 26 in the Americas. So we joined, we were in a smaller group here. Now we're closer to over 200. And over time, you know, we've really looked at how do we recruit to bring more women in, or just to have a more diverse funnel of candidates when we're looking to new hires. But internally, I've taken on quite a few mentoring roles, which I really enjoy. And we don't have a formal mentoring program, which I actually prefer. I think those organic mentoring opportunities.
That's what we talked about at the event, too. We want it to be a little bit more informal.
You know, you see something in someone, you're like, wow, she really owned that conversation. Or I like the way that she took like an example and then correlated to a best practice or a recommendation. And so you find those mentors and you say, like, can you teach me how you do that? And so that's how I formed a lot of relationships in the company.
Awesome.
We also started WAR, Women at RELEX, a little acronym for you, where it just ended up being that, W at R. And it was really just about women, but also, you know, male allies coming together to talk about where do women feel like they need more support? What mechanisms can we do to really make sure that women's voices are included at the table? So, you know, using tools like echoing. So echoing what someone says to ensure that their name is associated to an idea. So just these like small things, but you can see they make an impact in that, like, we have a really close culture now, and you see women represented in all facets of RELEX in the industry.
Well, and Alex, I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit, because we were talking earlier, this is not part of what we were going to talk about, but I think you have some stories about Katie that maybe you want to throw in here, because they've kind of got to do with mentorship, I guess, too.
Definitely,
right?
yeah. Katie was actually one of the first people that I talked to when I was interviewing at RELEX. She was a mentor. My first basic job at RELEX was doing implementation. So all of the feedback that Katie was able to give me, whether that was how I presented, things that I should work on, making sure that I empowered the team around me, was hugely helpful. And although now I don't get to work with Katie on a day-to-day basis, she's still a huge mentor.
But we brought you together on
Finally.
the couch in the chair today.
All it took was a podcast to get us back together.
Exactly.
I love that. So let's just talk a little bit about advice. What advice would you give to women looking to get into the industry, who are in the industry and looking to maybe up their career?
Yeah. First, for anybody in the industry, outside of the industry, it's so important to advocate for yourself. If you want something, if you're interested in something, express it, find mentors, find books, find seminars, conferences. Like, there's so many avenues. Now with podcasts and social media, like, you can really learn anything on the fly. So advocate for what you want, talk to your team, and then find the right fit. I think fit at a company is so important, and fit within an industry. As I said, supply chain is huge. There's so many facets to it. Find the part that really speaks to you and that you're passionate about, and then find a company whose values and culture aligns with your own. I think that's like a huge thing. There are amazing companies within the supply chain that are out there and they're doing great innovative things, but maybe culturally you're not aligned. So lots of opportunities to find that like perfect fit.
Well, and that's okay too, right?
Completely.
Like, I just want to reiterate that. If it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit, and that's okay. You're going to find it. Right? I love all of that advice. Now, what advice would you give to organizations to really, you know, hear diverse voices, underrepresented parts of their community, and create that supportive culture? Because that's what everybody's looking for. Some people get it right, some people get it wrong, and I think that's one thing to really point out, is sometimes they do get it wrong. But if they're trying, right, and they're listening and they're changing things, that's also, we got to give each other some grace on that too.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I did a panel about returning back to work for working moms. So I've had 2 children. I've done this return, and we were with the Mom Project. So
Okay.
a really great organization that tries to get mothers back into work. And we had a few panelists on, and one mentioned that even if a company isn't at the spot they want to be, because there are a lot of companies that are in startup or in their different business cycles, that if they are aligned with you in their long-term vision of how they want to get to a certain place, of how they want to improve DE and I aspects or improve parental leaves or things like that, if they're working towards it, that's progress. Not everyone can flip how they're able to
Right.
support employees overnight, but I think it's important that you find companies that, and that companies have a strategy of how they want to get there. You know, here's a 3, 6, 9 month plan to
Right.
get there. But I do think it starts with, you know, talking about it and being very direct in what they want to achieve. You know, we want to have diverse talent pools. We want to see, you know, internal development. And some of that goes to the managerial level of like giving good feedback, you know, really being supportive, ensuring that there aren't biases and that we're openly talking about
Yeah.
what biases could exist within an organization. So yeah, I think just being like self-critical of your own organization, coming up with long-term plans of how you're going to implement DE and I efforts over time.
And have a voice.
Yeah.
Too, right? Be one of those people who are speaking up.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be aggressive or anything like that.
Yeah.
It just needs to be, hey, you know, I'm noticing this.
Yeah.
Can we change it? Maybe look to change it. Have a conversation with everybody to see if that's what everybody wants.
Yeah. And allyship is so important as well.
Yeah.
I think like, you know, those of minority voices often are the ones that are like, well, they're the ones speaking for themselves. I think like having allies to speak on their behalf is so impactful. And that's what really creates a culture, because that creates that team dynamic of supporting each other.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about RELEX.
Yeah.
I think everybody listening is probably like, because we've said RELEX a few times, what do they do? And we'll get to that in just a minute. But Alex, talk to us about what supply chain is going through right now, because I think that the demand really is, you know, largely normalized, or it has normalized, but customer expectations are still at an all-time high of what they're expecting from the companies that they're buying from, the companies that they're working with, partnering with, right? So talk to us about that, and what are some of the challenges we're facing right now?
Sure. Yeah, I think companies are definitely facing a changing customer mindset. Previously, it was you know, wherever the product is, that's where I'll go.
Right.
I think one of the biggest things that we're seeing right now within retail in particular is omni-channel.
Okay.
Is the ability to get product where you want it, how you want it, when you want it.
Yep.
Which is huge, and that makes it very complex for retailers to understand where should I be placing inventory,
Yep.
and how spread out their inventory is.
Yeah.
Grocers and other retail industries, they're investing in micro-fulfillment centers. There's so many different ways that product can get to an end consumer, which makes your supply chains so much more technically difficult, and retailers are struggling with that.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what we're seeing with the industry.
So many moving parts.
So many.
Really?
Exactly. Yeah, definitely.
Like, and you want to get people in the stores, so people are
Yeah.
coming to pick up product in the stores, and we're all consumers too, right?
Yep.
Definitely.
And so we know exactly what we want, and also getting customer feedback and things like that are really important.
Definitely.
But with all those moving pieces, how do you optimize it, right? How do you get the right data in the right places? How do you figure out that the product is in the right places? I know a lot of people have reduced SKU counts,
Yep.
right? Since the pandemic, right?
Yep.
Inventory is kind of normalized, but what are we keeping in stock? Are we still doing just in case? Are we doing just in time? There's so many questions out there.
Yeah.
So talk to us about RELEX. Who are you? What do you do exactly? How do you help your customers?
Yeah, so RELEX is a global software platform that allows retailers, consumer packaged good industries, and wholesalers to understand their supply chains, whether that is the demand, the space that they manage, the promotions that they might be running, as well as how do they manage their workforce within all of that. So our platform basically allows all of our partners to be able to manage all of that demand, all of those nodes in an optimized manner using machine learning and artificial intelligence to direct product to where it needs to be for the customer.
Amazing. And sort of optimize supply chains, right?
Yeah.
You have anything else to add to that? I mean, RELEX is so dynamic. There's so many different things that you help your customers with, right?
Yeah, we really do. It's amazing to see how you might go into a conversation with a mindset of like, RELEX can fix this one thing for me. And by the end, you're like, wow, I didn't realize how impactful this could actually be on a broader, and we look big picture and we try to really see like, what's the end goal and how can we remain agile and flexible with our customers.
Right. So I want to talk about demand planning.
Sure.
Because I think we've been talking a lot about visibility, but more recently, visibility has kind of taken a little bit of a backseat to demand planning.
Definitely.
Everybody's looking at demand planning and orchestration before they're looking at visibility because they're understanding that that component really needs to come first. And I think you're seeing 99% forecast accuracy and up to 83% reduction in stockouts, which those are incredible numbers.
Yeah.
So talk to us about that. What does it look like? How are you providing those results for your customers?
Sure. So our demand forecasting solution uses machine learning and AI to understand all aspects of customer demand. So whether that is what promotion is happening now, what's happened historically, what's going to happen in the future, those are all things that we'll take into the data.
Okay.
Now, all of that data is super important, but where we see massive benefits is how do we correlate all of that data? So today's Wednesday, it's raining, and we have 3 or 4 different promotions. We might have a category promotion that's 10% off,
Right.
but we might also have a certain item that is being promoted elsewhere in the store that has a certain effect on different products. So all of those correlations are really, really difficult for traditional solutions to understand that demand. For us, we can take all of that as well as external data, whether that's weather or whether that is local event data, and we
Okay.
can bring that into our solution and understand all of those different impacts, which allows us to basically get those 99% forecast accuracies metrics.
Amazing. And I mean, really, at the end of the day, we need to have all of that data, but a lot of people don't really know what to do with it and where to put it, if it's accurate, you know, what's the right technology for us. But the other side of that is fulfilling that demand. And you at RELEX have a lot of supply chain solutions. So let's dive deeper into that.
Sure.
What are those solutions? How are your customers using that to really optimize what they're doing with their supply chains and making the most of it for their customers? Because that's what it's really all about.
Definitely.
Right? It's about your customer's customer. And what does that look like? How are they getting their product? Are they coming back and buying?
Definitely. So you can have the best forecast in the world, but if you can't actually replenish to that demand, it has no meaning, right? So what we do is forecast is the core of our solution, but we take that and we transform those forecasts into replenishment driven processes that allows our retailers and our different customers to actually have inventory available. So whether that inventory is non-fresh or fresh. Fresh is a big topic for us that we can talk about. But all of that is optimizing those safety stocks. The other thing that we'll do is we'll take that demand and we'll actually plan space based on future demand or current demand, right? So
that's great.
If
so you don't
I have
run out of space.
Exactly, right?
We saw that in the pandemic.
Definitely. Or if a certain item is selling well at a certain location, we should plan for more space.
Right.
Now, if you're just looking
fair.
historically, you don't necessarily have those insights. So connecting that forecast to space solutions like the planogramming or the macro space, which categories should be placed in certain areas or what your flow should be is also part of that. And then one of the other solutions that we have is actually promotion management. So which promotions should we run when and what should those prices be? And all of that we'll take into account for our solutions. And then once you understand how much demand you're going to have, when inventory is getting to your stores, your locations, how much space you'll have, we can actually take that information and transform that into how many hours do I need in order to execute on that demand or any of that replenishment, receiving any of the actual checkout work, all of that stuff we can forecast.
And I talk a lot about collaboration between supply chain and marketing, and you're really speaking my language talking about the promotions, right? Because sales and marketing are like, yes, we can do it. And operations and supply chain are like, no, I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, we don't have space.
Exactly.
Or I haven't placed that order yet, or why didn't you tell me 3 weeks ago?
Yep.
But you're really bringing everybody together to think like that.
Yep.
I think that's part of the challenge too, right?
Huge.
Is that we have to make sure that each of those people or teams that are involved in things like that will bring it up.
Definitely.
And will understand the impact, or at least use the technology to be able to bring everybody together. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it is so important for teams, retailers, CPG to work together in collaboration because their strategy is all the same. Happy customers. They want end consumers to be happy with their experience with their products. So, you know, it's a unified vision that they all have. This just helps them to see the full picture of it by using one tool like RELEX.
But I hate when somebody runs a promotion and they have like one product in stock, and you get there and you're like, I can't wait to get this promotion, and they're like, we're sold out.
Yeah.
And then they don't give a rain check.
Yep.
And then you're like,
Yep.
you know, like how many customers are you losing?
Yeah.
Huge.
Right? We need to plan for this, people.
Definitely.
We need to plan for this and keep customers.
Yes.
So one question I have for you, do you have an ideal client? Like, what does an ideal client kind of look like for you? Like, if I'm in the audience and I'm like, I love what Alex and Katie are talking about. I really, really want to learn more, but I also want to know if I'm the right fit.
Sure.
What does that look like?
Yeah, so for us, we work with all size retailers, wholesalers, and CPG companies.
Okay.
Normally, what we do best is how to actually scale these operations. If you have one or two stores, this solution probably doesn't make sense.
Okay.
But if you have 100, 2,000 with Family Dollar, Dollar Tree, we're managing 18,000 of their stores.
Right.
Being able to scale this is huge. The other piece is an ideal client who is looking for improvements in inventory while maintaining availability. I mean, that's really the core of our solution is making sure that we can reduce inventory, get better forecasts to understand where inventory should be. And then also, we are a perfect match for fresh. For fresh retail. So
the food supply chain.
So the food supply chain is huge for us.
I just talked about the banana supply chain the other day on one of my shows, and it was fascinating.
It's incredible. Yeah.
And like bananas don't need packaging because they are already packaged.
Yep, exactly.
And it was just fascinating to really understand what a banana goes through from you know where it's produced or manufactured or grown to how it gets to me. And I love those kind of stories. So food supply chain is amazing. All right, now let's bring this all to life. Do you have a case study for us? Like, paint us a picture of somebody you've worked with. Like, what was the challenge that they came to you with? What part of your solution, or maybe it was the full solution that they used, and what was the ROI and benefit of that?
Sure. So one of my favorite cases is Bunting. They're a $1 billion grocer in Germany. They came to us. They have 250 stores, and they're consistently growing year over year. They came to us with a basically three-pronged approach. We want to make sure that we can maintain our availability in our stores. We really struggle with fresh because safety stocks that we have right now are not optimized for that. And then we also struggle with all of our analysts just have too much work to do. They can't deal with everything.
I'm glad the organization saw that though.
Oh, definitely. Yeah,
They were
I mean
like, our
that's
people
huge.
are overworked.
Definitely. And I come from
Thank you,
retail,
Bunting.
and that for us is huge. So what we did is we implemented our forecasting and replenishment solution with those guys. And normally this takes anywhere from 6 to 8 months to implement, so it can go live pretty quickly. And what they saw was after using the solution, after getting comfortable, they saw around a 24% reduction in food waste. So that's massive. I mean, in terms of sustainability, it's
which we're going to talk about.
And then in terms of just ROI, it's massive for a company of that size. At the same time, we reduced their in-stocks by around 7%, which was huge. And then that third facet, which I'm very passionate about was the analyst. They became 30% more efficient with their work, right?
Think about what else they could do in their day.
Definitely,
Yes.
so much more analysis that they can do, and actually value-added work. So for us, that's
love
huge.
that. And I bet that they were happy.
Oh, most definitely.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's kind of really the true value in all of this too, right? Because we talk about retention.
Yeah.
Right? We want our supply chain people to stay, analysts to stay. How do we make their life easier? And knowing that you can partner with like a RELEX to do that.
Yep.
And really understand the impact of that is amazing. Now let's talk about sustainability.
Sure.
RELEX won an award, I think, for the best sustainability initiative in 2023. I mean, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think, I've done some work with RELEX in the past, and I understand that sustainability really is at the heart of what you do. So talk to us about that. How is your solution helping your customers sort of meet their ESG goals? What impact is that going to have on the industry and on the environment?
Sure. I mean, sustainability, you said it, is huge to our core values as a company. But retail is incredibly inefficient when it comes to how things work and how we can optimize that. So what we'll normally see as far as retail is concerned is there's an 8 to 10% basically of all greenhouse gases produced are due to retail.
Right.
So for us, what we'll normally see is anywhere from 10 to 40% reduction in spoilage. So that, if we just take 15% of that and apply it throughout retail, it's absolutely massive, the impact. That's basically 750,000 tons of CO2 equivalents that we can take out just by optimizing your food much more efficiently and much more in an optimized manner.
What does it mean to you as well, Katie? As far as the impact that you and your company, your teams are making on the industry and the environment?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so important for all of us to be cognizant of what's happening in the environment, and it feels great to work for a company that not only talks the talk, but we walk the walk. We really care about it. It's at the core of what we do. We even have our own internal initiatives to support these, reducing spoilage, reducing our CO2 imprint on the world. And so it feels great. And then it feels so satisfying to work with a customer and seeing those benefits come to fruition. And in a 9-month period, you start the implementation, and by the end, we're starting to have a huge impact, and it feels great. It's an exciting company to be a part of, and just that we really are passionate about this, and our customers get the benefit out of it.
Yeah, and you walk the walk.
Yeah.
Right? That's what we want to see when people are talking about sustainability, because it can be such a buzzword, right? It can be a checkbox.
Yep.
We don't want it to be that way.
Absolutely.
And it's really important to partner, right? No one person can do this on their own. We all have to collaborate and partner and come together to make sure that we make the impact. So let's talk about the future.
Sure.
What does the future hold at RELEX? Can you give us some, maybe spill the tea a little bit?
Sure.
On what we can expect from RELEX in the future?
Sure. So with Katie's team, she is going to continue to implement huge projects that are going to make massive impacts for our customers. In terms of the actual product, we are continuing to update our product. Some of the things that we focused on this year would be the being able to manage promotions and helping retailers to manage those. But at the beginning of the year, we also noticed that price was huge. Inflation comes into play, and how do we react, and what should our price be? So in the future, we're going to be able to really help our clients in terms of pricing, not just promotions, but also that daily price as well, which is going to be massive value add for all of our clients.
Awesome. Anything you want to add before we go?
We're just going to keep growing and innovating. I mean, we keep up. We kind of get a little bit ahead of the industry and help retailers and wholesalers and CPGs make those good decisions before they know they need them. So yeah, I think that we'll continue to surprise everyone with more exciting innovations.
And as your shirt says, born to RELEX.
We're born to RELEX.
What does yours say? Let's see.
Mine says, plan better, sell more, and waste
less.
All right. So if anybody wants to get in touch with you, how can they find you?
Sure. You can go visit our website, relexsolutions.com. from there, you can find lots of case studies and see all the great work we're doing.
Awesome. And you're both on LinkedIn, I would assume?
Yep, both on LinkedIn.
All right. So go and find them and flood their inboxes with all your questions that you might have. But it's been an absolute pleasure. I've done some work in the past. Like I said, I emceed the virtual event that you had a couple of years ago. And I love working with the team at RELEX. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Sharing your passion, sharing what you're doing at RELEX, sharing your journey and your story so that we can inspire other folks in the community. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much.